What is happening? Welcome to an episode of The Craft, a very special one. I have an old friend with me today. My name is Nick Pollack, and well, it's not quite a fireside chat, but it sure feels like one today with the wonderful Paul Sporer as our guest. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time.
Nick, it is wonderful to talk with you. It's very, very fireside-esque. We were talking about, how our schedules have gotten a bit unruly and the fireside has maybe gone by the wayside. But then right before we hit record on this, we said, maybe we got to do once a month. So we'll have this one. We'll actually have two this month because we'll have a trade deadline one. And then maybe down the stretch, we do, August, September, and then of course in the off season, just so that we stay connected because we're both crazy busy all the time, and at least getting that 1 hour a month, I think would be great. But I'm happy to join you. Thank you so much for having me on, filling in for one of my favorite people in the universe. You're an excellent guest, by the way. The fact that you've been able to get that guy.
I know he's such a guest. I mean, you can't really say filling in. It's just
right. I'm the guest this
he's
week.
A guest. You are the guest.
To book him so consistently as a guest, it's impressive.
I've got good people, I've got good people.
I respect that. I respect that grind and that hustle.
So what we're doing today, as we get close to that trade deadline, you guys don't know, Paul Sporer and I, every year, I think for 5 years now, 6 years?
We've been packing them on now.
We do a trade deadline extravaganza, live streamed. It's going to be, I believe, from 4 p.m. to 6:15 or so p.m. the day of the deadline on July 31st. So come on by. We're going to review through everything. We'll be there live with you, reacting to stuff as it happens. It's super fun. It's one of the rare times you see both me and Sporer in a suit.
That's right.
So we're gonna blow away passing. Okay. So come on by in 2 weeks, I guess that is, or 3 weeks. And before we get there, though, we got to talk about the first half versus the second half. And I figured who better to talk about sleepers and busts than Paul Sporer, of course, of the Sleeper and the Bust podcast. And we're going to do a whole starting pitcher, sleepers for a second half, and bust as well. So let's kick this off. Who would you say is a sleeper? And I want to focus more on the guys who have been underperforming or bigger names. Who you think, hey, look, don't give up on these. These guys should be better. Let's kind of get those out of the way because I feel a lot of people are still on them.
Yes.
But just so that everyone knows that we do believe in them for the second half.
Let's just rip through Dylan Cease then and talk about it because it's always there. It's kind of an ever-present thing outside of 2022 because even last year you had some struggles that you had to stick with. But when you stuck with them, look what you got. 3.47 ERA, 107 whip. I know 2023 was the bad one. And we kind of had that 3-year period from 22 to 24 with Cease where it was the good, middle, bad. Not in that order, but you got all three rungs there. The three little bit, who's Goldilocks? You got the Goldilocks trio there with him. This year, we are leaning closer to the bad from the 2025 season, looking a lot like 2023. But I just can't quit this guy. He's too talented. And I will say, you got to look in the mirror a little bit. If you signed up for this with Dylan Cease, then you have to stay committed to taking on the starts. I don't think you can curate it. He's not matchup dependent. When Dylan Cease is on, he can strike out 13 Dodgers. When he's off, he can give up 6 runs to the Marlins. It's one of those guys that you committed to taking 180 innings from and seeing where the chips fall. So do not quit him. I know it's a 4.62 ERA, 133 whip, but I start Dylan Cease and it's a set it and forget it with me. All formats. I do not take him out of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, he's a cherry bomb. He's either super sweet, it blows up in your face, but cherry bombs, I've changed it to be guys that you actually hold on to. And not the hipsters who are headache-inducing pitchers stifling the entire roster. So think of like the Grandulator of Jose Barrios.
Yes.
But just better. Who, by the way, Barrios is like right there. It's unbelievable. He just finds a way to be like a 3.7 ERA and a 1.
Water find its level. And the only time he was derailed was he had that terrible season opener and never really got back on track.
Yeah, that's right.
But the great undulator, you called him that like a decade ago at this point, which is crazy.
At the OTC in First Pitch, Arizona, heckle me. That's what I told him to do. And he just shouted at me, Jose Barrios is not a Toby. And he's been ever since.
Well,
ever since.
And Barrios is one of those guys who's a great split between our outlooks on 12 and 15s because in 15s, he's always still been like a glue god more than a Toby. But in 12s, he does straddle that line because his whips have been inconsistent. But yeah, great point there. And Cease is just a better version of that. And again, nothing feels worse, at least to me. Manage how you feel best in fantasy, but nothing worse to me than leaving a 13K outing on the bench because I was trying to get cute with somebody like Dylan Cease.
My gosh.
You just got to start it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you started Jacob Mizorowski, of course.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that's the kind of guy, like that was a scary. Now, he is more could be a hipster. Now, he hasn't been, but because you made that distinction between cherry bomb and hipster, a young guy without a track record leans more toward the hipster. But with Mizorowski, I was telling people, start him versus the Dodgers, because if he goes out and dominates, you're going to kick yourself. I mean, you paid the big fab, you go out and do it. I've got him as a must start right now too.
Oh yeah, I mean, where do you? I mean, we're not going to derail this. I want this in like a 10-second thing, but where do you have Mizorowski moving forward number wise in starting pitcher? Is he top 15? Is he top 30? Where is he?
He's top 30. He's top 30. He's not quite
not top
15.
Not top 20.
Not yet. I have he's just outside the top 20 as well. And I have the core of an update that's going to go out during the All-Star break. There'll be sweeping, there'll be some touches on it. He's probably gonna be around 24 to 20 range for Mizorowski.
I mean, I gotta tell you guys, I watched that entire game and it was just
it was unbelievable.
That's what it is.
And I love the little jawing, and I think it was totally playful, which is why I like it. With the hopefully he knows who I am now, because Kershaw said he didn't know.
Yeah, well, right. I mean,
and Kershaw played into it too, because somebody asked him. He said, "I know who he is now," which I like. That
yeah, right.
Stuff. When it's playful.
So right. So Dylan Cease, I think we do buy into. It's actually kind of interesting. I know this sounds crazy to so many people. I don't really know the actual ERA and the actual WHIP of a guy a lot in season. Right. Sometimes I see and I go, oh, you know what? Maybe I should be readjusting this, because I feel like it is what we've got so far is who he is. And I know certain guys like, I know you haven't been as good and you were better and whatever. So quick ones there that I feel just checking their current ERA and WHIP. They just know, okay, come on, let's not believe this. It's Shane Baz, it's Will Warren, and Jack Flaherty are the first three that come to mind.
Okay, I had Warren. I like Flaherty. Can we peel off on Baz real quick?
Sure. So I just to put a pin quickly on Warren and Flaherty. Flaherty last 4 games, I actually led him today on the SP Roundup. Jack Clarity, and it was getting some Jack Clarity. That was the line.
I like that.
His curveball still incredible.
Yes.
And he's had some weird put away things with his slider to right-handers, and also he's overthrowing his fastball to lefties. And we saw that 1-2 fastball to Aranda yesterday. That was a home run. And
I think that's that. Perfect analysis as somebody who's watched every Flaherty start.
But right, exactly. You have, I'm sure. But yeah, also those 8 earned run and 7 earned run games, I don't think he actually pitched nearly as badly.
And I was literally about to say that.
I think it was tipping. It must have been.
I think that's totally fair, because when you're watching him batter to batter, it's one of those things where you're like, how's he getting crushed? He would look nasty for an inning and then give up 3 runs. And so I think tipping could totally be there with Flaherty, but he's back on track after those 15 runs in 2 games with just 7 in the last 3, going 6, 5, and 6 in the third. Weirdly, because they're so good, he's 0-1 in those 3 starts, but he is a good wins bet for you as well when Flaherty's on, because
absolutely
he can be one of those guys who gives you like 5 innings, 3 runs, and still gets a win. Go ahead on Warren.
Definitely. Sorry. Well, Warren is someone who has amazing stuff when it comes to the sweeper, the changeup, and the curve, but those haven't been commanded as well recently in the last couple starts. We saw it much better before it. And really what's actually kept them above water is the fastball command. It was gone for 1 game, and then he got it back last night against the Mariners. I think this is a good foundation moving forward, and then the secondaries should get better as we go on.
Hottest team going too. You can't really crush Will Warren for getting smoked by Toronto. They've been so good, and it was 1 bad inning. He settled a bit for those final 3, and I know it was still 4 innings, 8 runs. I'm not trying to put a good picture on it, but it was the 1 bad inning where he gave up 7, then 3 innings of competent work and re-rack for the next start, which he handled Seattle. So yeah, I like Will Warren. He was on my list as well. But Baz, I want to talk about. Because I want to talk about the Tampa Bay guys as a whole too, because I still kind of cluster them together. I think Pepio's elevated above them to where I can trust him home and road, but I still have the home road issue with Baz Bradley. And now with the Rasmussen thing, that's another tangent, because he's an opener now. What are they doing with his innings? What are we doing there? But with Baz and Bradley, I want to keep them paired together because I think they're very similar. Nasty talents, great stuff.
Oh, wow.
So you don't think Bradley's stuff is good?
No, I just don't. I don't think that Baz is nearly as chaotic as Bradley is.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I understand the results haven't been as what you want with Shane Baz.
And I think it's your knowledge of the pitch.
Been forever of just like, it's complete chaotic randomness with
right.
And I don't want to touch that because I don't see any path to change or adjustments or whatever. Shane Baz, though, has actually gone through changes, and we've seen the ramifications of that, or not the ramifications, but the spoils of that, even lately, with his cutter being introduced. And actually, early on, oh my gosh, I cannot express the annoyance of Shane Baz throwing like 4 sliders in a game, and like one of them allowed a home run. And it's like, why are you just throwing this at all? Like, this is clearly a bad pitch.
That was the killer.
4 of them. Oh, okay, there's a home run that ruins my night. Oh, I guess not. Okay. And you keep doing this. And so finally he stopped throwing it. And it's a cutter now. And a cutter has had moments. It's not as reliable as he wants it to be, but it's not bad. It's not like the slider from before. Meanwhile, I think the 4-seamer curveball combination is fantastic. He actually had the worst curveball command I've ever seen from him yesterday, at least since he introduced it at the end of last year. I don't think that's who Baz is. I think Baz as a foundation is a really good 4-seamer and a really good curveball that he commands well. And then it's about, great, the changeup isn't quite enough, and this new cutter actually is the bridge pitch you need it to be. I very much have him as a sleeper for the second half.
Can you still confidently start him at home, though, Shane Baz?
Yeah. I think it's I'm not putting the same weight that you are about George Steinbrenner Field. Maybe I should. However, I think the skills itself should overtake that risk.
The problem is with the homers still being there, they haven't, because he does have the exact same strikeout to walk. I don't have K-BB because I'm looking at BREF, but he has the same exact strikeout to walk, 2.7 home and away for Shane Baz, but a 5.47, 3.10 ERA split. It comes down to the homers and being more hittable, and that to me is the park. Now, they also have a quirky schedule where they're going to be playing less at home, so maybe he gets more roadies, and you want to get in on Baz. As far as comparing Bradley to him, I will cop that Baz is more Taj plus. Like I'll say that he's a cut above, but I think it's a similar class of inconsistent pitcher who I am terrified to start at home. I don't have a lot of confidence with either of these guys at home right now, which I can get on the Baz train as a sleeper because you can see it. And when it works, he is, almost Dylan Cease in terms of like, oh, here's the good version is awesome. But then the bad version is get him off my roster. But I feel like it's a half pitcher for any Ray that you trust right now.
Interesting. I think I'm putting more weight on the introduction of the cutter and the fact that he really leaned into it. Against your Tigers, actually, that was the first time doing it. It's like, all right, hold on, I got to figure this out a little bit more. Got much more comfortable in Kansas City, got much more comfortable against Oakland, and did well against your Tigers, save for, it's a very poor quality start, which is exactly 6 innings, exactly 4.5 ERA, exactly 150 whip with 7 Ks. And that was even without the curve being in that pitch that's supposed to be every time. I think we're seeing a different version of him. I'm also someone that I know is way more willing to weigh those changes quickly than others.
To try
I absolutely understand that bias that I have.
But it's a bias that I think can serve you well in today's fantasy game. I'm old, so I grew up when you could wait. You can keep a guy on the waiver wire for 4 or 5 starts, and everyone just kind of agreed to do it. Obviously, it wasn't like an unwritten rule or whatever, but when someone comes up, it's like, oh, we're going to see 2 or 3 starts before we go crazy. Nowadays, you got to stick and move. So you got to be quick to those changes. And I think your ability to analyze the pitching so detailed and see that the cutter is there and that pitch has changed. And when you do your pitcher breakdowns, that is super, super helpful. So I'm going to be slower to change on something like that. But I am still looking at somebody like Baz. And of course, Bradley, again, you have those 2 further apart. I've got them a little bit closer. But guys that, until I see the homers come down, their home starts are still going to scare me. That said, Baz is still no worse than a team streamer for me, which is just a streamer that you don't cut.
Oh, man. It is so funny you say that. So we have PL Bot, which is our PL Pro projections. It's rooted in pitch quality, PLV here. Something we really love. And I do my streaming article every day where it's me versus the machine, right? I pick a guy underneath 20% rostered, and then the projections also have someone. And we've been calculating the entire year. I'm currently 3 games up. It's like 70 to 67 or something like that.
I hope.
But Kyle Bland put together, great, here are the results for this season. And I put this out on Twitter today. And it's going to be actually the first bust, if you ask me. Because, not the PLB projections, you'll understand quickly here. These are the results of PLV this season as far as picking that streamer. Remember, this is under 20% rostered in your standard 12 teamer. Okay,
the thresholds that you put on yourself, by the way, are amazing.
It's tough.
I love it.
It's 334 ERA, 121 WHIP with a 22% K rate and 8% walk rate. Okay, that is your streamer in a 12 team.
Bonkers, bro.
So you don't want. I mean, that when you're talking about Bradley and stuff, it's like I'll rather go with this than I would with Taj Bradley, right?
Sure. Well, but if you're curating Bradley, I mean, you can start with just the road, and he's at 310, 114 with 44 Ks and wait, that's Boz. I'm so sorry.
So do that with Boz. It's great.
He's at 404, 127
okay.
with 43
I think
Ks and 49
Bradley
innings.
is about home road. It's just more about like, do I have any sort of command today? Okay, great.
That I won't disagree with.
Home, you're saying, but
but the home makes it worse.
Sure.
I'll even throw Bradley to the side. I don't want to get bogged down in that because you don't like him that much, and I'm not trying to.
I don't want to talk about
RG
anymore. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm gonna cop to that, and even say that Boz is a nice little bridge, a gap ahead of him. I still can't get over the home starts though. So
understood.
That's gonna be the part where we're gonna.
So this is my transition because if you're thinking, 3.34 ERA with about a 120 WHIP. With a strikeout rate around 20 to 21%, 22. Wait a second. Isn't that Luis Castillo?
Ooh,
because
it is. It is. Wow. That's kind of
a streamer every day. It would be like 4.5 times the volume. So you have 400 plus Ks so far. However, Luis Castillo is on my bust list because I see a guy who has four seamers that aren't as good as he used to be, a changeup that does not get the same number of whiffs, and a slider that can be good against right-handers, but it's not always good against right-handers. It's inconsistent against lefties. Sometimes the sinker command is there. It's very, very precarious. I understand Seattle at home, worthwhile. It's a great park to pitch at, totally. But I feel that as the guy who started a lot of things for us.
I was going to say he's the patron saint of this pod. I don't even know if I'm using that phrase right, but yeah,
like he's the catalyst for the fireside chats. I'm now on the side of, I think that his better days are behind him. How do you feel about Luis Castillo as a bust for the second?
I think you're dead right about the best days behind him, and it does give me a little sadness because again, I do associate him with you so closely. Because for those that don't know, we started the fireside based on our joint love of Luis Castillo, our overrating of him. What's that?
2018.
That's right. Ages ago at this point. We overrated him based on 89 innings. We were really, really excited. He had a slow start. And May, June, I called him coming back from a movie and was like, we need to get on the horn and just talk about Luis Castillo. Did we do something wrong in our process? Do we need to give him more time? Turns out we need to give him more time. He had a really good second half. But either way, it was the start of like, hey, how careful do we need to be with these 89 inning samples of moving a guy into what I believe was both of our top 30s. And, at the end of the day, he's been amazing. I think we feel very good about our love for Luis Castillo, but he is 32. He's looked a lot more gettable these last couple years. Now, we just talked about the home road splits the other way with Boz and Bradley. He is running the complete home road split. Are you not moved by that at all? He's still an ace at home with Castillo, 229, 098, 8.2 Ks. I like K percentage too, but I'm on BREF, so they don't have it easily available.
Why are you on BREF? That's what I'm asking you. Why are you on BREF? You got the Pitcherless player pages that have all the splits and everything you need.
You know what? That's actually fair. I don't listen. I'm not being a company man. I don't like the Fangraphs ones as much. Like my go-to for going on 20 years now has been the BREF ones, but I do need to get more comfortable with just going to
I'll be honest with you. As much as I respect everything about BREF, I am lost.
You also know everything at your site, and I'm that way at Pitcherless sometimes where I'm a little lost in knowing exactly where the things I want are. But the bottom line is with Castillo, he is playing that crazy home road split. And how do you navigate something like that? Because again, ace at home, legitimate, 229, 098, but then garbage on the road, 467, 150, 153, Nick, with that whip. I think garbage is the right word. Not a garbage person. He's a great guy for all we know. But how do you navigate that there?
So, I mean, generally what I say, especially in a 12-teamer, you are better off just churning and burning if
someone picks him up, let him.
Sorry?
If someone picks him up, just let him, as opposed to trying to navigate the half starts.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what I feel. You should not have a pitcher on a team you only pitch once every 2 weeks.
I think that's totally fair, especially in a 12. And Nick shows you guys day in and day out how you can navigate. And I think giving yourself that crazy threshold of 20% or lower really makes it clear that like this can be done. Because if you were just plucking guys that were like 60%, I'd be like, come on.
I mean, that's not,
you're cherry picking, you know, but you're going for probably what's worse than a lot of folks would have available. So somebody like a Luis Castillo, who you're only using half the time, it's just not there. So as much as I love him, I have to agree with him as somebody who's a bit of a bust in the second half, especially in 12s.
You know what's really funny, by the way? I think about that podcast, the first one we did with Luis Castillo, and we got a review of it. It sticks in my head. I don't know if you remember this review where people listened to it, and there's this big one that he was infuriated, this fella, because he was calling us arrogant. He was like, you know what? I don't understand how could they just say like they did it right. And that's the thing. My takeaway was like, I was watching Luis Castillo and he wasn't doing well. It's like, honestly, I don't regret it. I still love the guy and everything.
Right.
And I think about
we wanted to address it, but we weren't taking some big mea culpa that we were wrong and stupid. We were analyzing the process. And it turns out, by the way, over the course of his career, he's played as somebody who doesn't like cold weather. He's had slow starts in a lot of his seasons. So if we had just waited a few weeks, we might not have even done the pod, because he did turn around in the second half.
It was that was the response. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I was pretty arrogant in that one. That's true.
Yeah. Because we were like, wow,
that's just what I thought. And actually, Fangraphs came out with a weather split all of a sudden. I think it was like 3 years ago. First thing I did, like, I don't know if this is real. Let me put in Luis Castillo. It is the worst ERA in the cold. Okay, yep, this is real. This works.
And some guys hit a hitter one that I'll never forget. Jose Abreu seemed to just not vibe with the cold.
Really?
And I know that it's more of a stereotype, so I don't lean into it. That like players from maybe the Dominican or warm weather places aren't as comfortable with it. But I think people just put it too much on like just Latin American players. I think some players from like warmer parts of Texas and California that never get cold can have the same issues now, but it's person to person, because some guys don't care. So I would never make a sweeping judgment one way or the other. But I remember Abreu used to talk about, he didn't like the cold weather at all either. And we know that Castillo had an issue. Seattle can get cold, but they can close it. So if it's crazy cold up there, close the roof for him and let him go. Let me give you.
We've got to talk more about some sleepers here. And we're going to talk about Paul's favorite under the radar sleeper starting pitcher after this break. All right, Sporer, this is it. You've got your audience. You've got your spotlight.
All right.
Who?
I hope I don't underwhelm, but
is your number one starting pitcher sleeper for the second?
Well, if I can cop out a little bit and say that Will Warren was actually my number one, but we kind of put him off to the side.
No. I already have. I've had him in the top 35 for a long time.
That's fair. I've been on Warren too. I told people to stay the course after the 8 runs.
I would be willing to bet that you are. Yeah.
Michael Soroka.
Oh, Soroka.
Quit this guy, man. And I know that the composite ERA right now is downright bad. It's like 5.5. But as an avid Sorokian, I've been watching him since the spring. I was part of the helium that pushed him up in spring. He had a little bit of issue there at the very end of spring and then got injured. Huge surprise. But watching most of his 12 starts this year, I really do think he's back in a big way. And I think he's like a click away from really dominating. And I do wonder if maybe they consider moving him at the deadline because he's a free agent after this year.
Yeah,
so why not get
absolutely
something?
Someone who should be dealt.
He's not a baby, but he's 27. Like, what do the Nats have to keep him for? They should turn around and get something. So going to a contending team with these skills, I think can unlock something. Now, he doesn't have a crazy swing strike rate, never has, but he is missing bats more consistently this year with a 26% K rate. The control is all the way back to Braves Soroka days at 6%. Got to get those homers. And part of that, when you're a huge control guy, is you live in the zone, you can be more prone to homers. I think he's been a bit unlucky there, though, too. And I think if he can get the home run rate down to like 1.1, which is still a little high, I like it under 1 when I can get it, but 1.1 with a 20% strikeout minus walk, and I think Soroka could put up a 3.5 ERA the rest of the way.
So I love that pick of just even the idea of like, hey, here's someone who can go 5-6 innings, a little more strikeouts than you'd expect, and be dealt to the deadline. That actually is something that can be very, very, very helpful. When it comes to what Soroka deals with, it's really like a four-seamer, sinker, and curveball. It's like a It's a very two-plane curve. It's been an amazing pitch for him. The changeup hasn't really developed much.
No, it's very in and out.
And what it's kind of funny to me is I think to myself, okay, Soroka is kind of made to do really well against right-handers, not as much against lefties. Oh, good. He's on the Nationals because that is the exclusive lefty team.
Right.
Him and them and the Guardians essentially can do that. So that's nice. That's a favorable thing there. I'm not as sold as you are that there's more to squeeze out of this from what he has done, because I think he really just there needs to be something else. He's already been a surprise in a way of how effective he has been. But that curveball can be so good. And as long as he's not giving in as much, it can be harder not to give in when you only have really two pitches at a time. And that's why he needs that extra thing to really prevent that, right?
And I think he really needs to find a way to give up fewer homers. Like if he's going to keep giving up at a 1-4 clip, then Soroka cannot be successful. But what I'm also hoping, there's a little bit of blind faith here. I know we're hard numbers and data, a little bit of blind faith here that a team that would trade for him would have a plan to kind of get that little bit of home run rate down. And then all of a sudden you got yourself a competent 3-something ERA pitcher with a decent whip and better win opportunity.
Yeah, you know me, Sporer. I'm very much about the numbers and data, but there's a ton of gut in here.
Right.
The list is all vibes, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we can't analyze 100 players that detailed every time.
You're not going to just do a full projection output number.
That's boring.
You can't do that.
No.
So you have to have vibes and gut. That is, the thing that we do as analysts is like, great, this is what they have done. But as Tom Tangle will tell you, FIP is descriptive, not predictive. So that was what they did.
Yes.
But that doesn't
mean it can give you some indicator.
The same human.
Exactly.
So we got to figure out if that output that they put in or the input of their pitches and everything is repeatable, or if it's adaptable, or if there's things inside of it that will get better, and so if there are tweaks to be made, all of that. So I understand you don't need to convince me about taking some blind faith and having the roto gut involved here.
Right. Shouts to Vlad.
Oh man. So Soroka, that's a fun one there. So I have a long list of just generally guys I like for the second. Okay. And I'm going to go through some quickly because I don't really think they're true sleepers. They've already shown that we know that they're better than they are.
But they're just guys you want people to
outing
be
that's
paying attention to.
So Erie Perez, for example, I think is undervalued still. I think.
Do you think Sandy as well? Sorry to derail you after the first name, but okay. So you have a split between the two Marlins
because he still hasn't done the thing for months. And even when he had that good moment, I was still like, guys, he's not doing it.
Yep.
Which is 4-seamers and sinkers inside to right-handers and changeups being the leading pitch. And those changeups have not been the outgetters. That was a huge part of the efficiency for him. And then when they were ready for those fastballs inside as righties, he had that to neutralize them.
What if he got traded? Would that help you with Sandy?
If I saw that, yes. But I don't have any faith that he'll get it. I feel like he's given a long time.
Yeah, we would need to see a team want to do that. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail you there after Yuri has been getting better. Still a TJ returner, but he has been showing glimpses of getting back to himself.
Brandon Woodruff blew me away in his first game. Much better than I expected. The fact that he also, I don't really see too many mention this part, which surprises me, is the fact that he was throwing softer in the beginning of the game, but then once he started to trust that he could actually let himself go, he was throwing harder by the end. And I think that the 93 we saw in the first game is going to be more like 94. In the next one, and that is a 18 inches of vert 4-seamer with a good enough height adjusted VA or really an arm angle that's a really good unexpected rise on that fastball. So
B Woody's a great name.
And then Yu Darvish looked great.
Yes, he was on my list.
So good. And it's so funny. No one has talked about Yu Darvish. Everyone's just like, is he ever going to come back? I don't care.
Not even since he started. I know he just started this week, but I'm not hearing enough buzz on Darvish. He's an automatic pickup, I think. You got to at least see where this goes. He's Yu Darvish.
He also, something I noted, and I think I'm right, is he didn't throw a splitter. He threw a 2-seamer changeup.
Ooh,
but it was classified as a splitter. And I went to Alex Fast. I was like, you better change the classification because I'm pretty sure.
Don't you dare.
That is not a splitter. That is a circle change. And look, he threw too many curveballs. It was actually, I was shouting at the screen, as you guys know I do, when against Josh Naylor, even when I'm like, dude, he's going for hard, please throw soft. And then he wouldn't throw soft and he walked him. I'm like, this is so frustrating. But then he overthrew the curveballs at times otherwise. And I was just like, okay, this is your first start back. You're fine. I'm excited for you. I don't really expect him to be like the traditional fit 10 pitches here, 15 there. I think they're still kind of like, maybe we might see the same 65, 70 pitches the next one. But for the second half, Yu Darvish, I think should be, I mean, I don't think you drop him in your 12th.
No, full cosign.
Right?
You hang on right now, and at the very worst, your team's streaming him, which again is just a streamer that you don't cut.
So then there's also Eric Cabrera, who's already had some nice signs. I'm not totally sold as much as my my co-host on OTC, Eric Samolsky, because I haven't seen too many games of him doing the same thing.
Yes.
It's always like, this one's working this time, this one's working that time. And anytime I see that kind of stuff, people think of the positives of like, oh no, he's got all these options. I see the negatives of like, those aren't working. This isn't working now. You know,
why did he have to go to that other thing?
Right.
Because he couldn't consistent. Yeah, I'm totally with you on Cabrera. That's been his whole career and why I've always been slow to get on him, but I can't argue the numbers and you have to be on, he's got to be on your radar.
Finally, which is good. Especially the four-seamer. Eric Cabrera is throwing sinkers more so than four-seamers. Much easier for him to get strikes with that. The slider is finally being a pitch that he can trust. I've been yelling at Cabrera for like 2 years. Like, this is a good slider. Don't throw it like 5 times a game. And now he's doing that much more so. So that all that is good. It's just I can't really say like that is it for the second half. So there are 2 names to me that I'm like, oh yes, I really feel good about it. What? I mean, really 3. I'll say 3. And I'm not going to say Chase Burns because we all know Chase Burns is going to be great. And like, let's just ignore like the other starts.
Yeah, don't get hung up on that bad.
Chase Burns is going to be amazing. That's not a sleeper, guys. You should just be. Everyone knows that. First one is going tonight, which is Cam Schlittler, and I think that Cam is going to do great.
Okay.
Cam, it throws 97. He doesn't have the greatest arm angle for that, so it's kind of empty velocity. However,
can you expound on that just a little bit about why it's empty? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Yes, empty velocity is essentially you have the fan 4, which is the Fantastic Four, the 4 elements of a four-seamer that make it a whiff outside location, of course, like in this stuff. So velocity, obvious. Yeah, you want to throw hard. 2, you want extension. How far out to the plate are you getting, right? 3, you want vert, IVB. You want it to be 16, really 17 plus. And then you want height adjusted VAA, which is just, it's VAA, it's attack angle based on the neutral middle. So you want that to be above 1, really above 1.2 to actually be flat. And that means that would be a four-seamer that would get whiffs upstairs. So when it comes to Schlittler, none of those are exceptional. It's actually below average for all of them.
So is he bringing down
below average extension, below average verts, and a steep attack angle, right?
So when do you get to the point where like your 97 plays more like 94, 95 because
well, right?
Is
so
he
when
there?
it comes to extension, I traditionally think of it like you have 6.5 as the neutral. Every 0.5 is about a tick down.
Okay.
And then other way it's a tick up. So like Mizorowski with a 7.5 extension at 99 is 101. You know, that 101 is 103. It's so dumb.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
So dumb. But anyway, so with Cam, it's not going to be, in my view, a whiff heavy four-seamer foundational pitch.
Okay.
However, if he throws backwards, if he pitches backwards, that can be a very good surprise one. And Schlittler has 3 pitches: slider, sweeper, and curve that I think are plus, especially with control of them. And it's really surprising to see the big curveball. It is a big -15 vert, which is a huge drop. Curveball at like 83, 84, not like 78. That is actually in the zone a decent amount. Like he actually doesn't, it's not like Lucas Giolito's they can never command. At least this is what we've seen with the minor league PL Pro card of just showcasing what he does, right? So I'm excited about this. I also think that the Yankees are going to need innings. I mean,
that's the thing.
The 4.
This is not a luxury. This is a need here with Cam Schlittler coming up. And he has been very impressive at double and triple A. Real prospect here. If you don't want to start him tonight, I get it, but pick him up. And again, you got to act quick in leagues these days. So I think you pick him up and stash at the very least with Schlittler, because he could be a bat missing stud, at least getting some cheap wins for you. But he has the chance to actually be an impact arm too. So I like that name a lot.
And I am very curious, obviously, because of the trade deadline, what's going to happen there.
Right.
It's just that right now, with Schmidt now out, I know there's Luis Heel, but I know they're making him into a starter. But here's the thing. I think Schlittler's going to do so well. I think he's going to look great. And they're like, you know what? Luis Heel, go to the pen. We're going to get a starter at the deadline.
I think that's totally fine to do with him too, by the way, coming off the health that he has and just the command and control profile that Heel has in general. It's kind of fit for the bullpen, to be honest.
And you might see actually Will Warren be slowed down.
I know. That's my one concern
that
about
might be
him.
The situation too. When Luis Heel, they finally like, all right, you're ready to go. It's maybe early mid-August. And maybe it's before then, but then they say, well, Warren, take a little bit of a break in August. We want you to be good in September. And so,
you have to keep that in mind for contenders, is that they'll slow down some guys they want in October.
Schlittler, who threw 120 innings last year.
That's pretty good.
Yes, that is essentially once you hit 120, in my view, 120 is the number where then they've let them go. Gilbert and George Kirby was that case. McClanahan actually was that case. I'm not talking about necessarily great for their health of the elbow. It's just what teams do. Manoa was that case. So I kind of feel like he's in there for a while, and that's a guy I just need to pick up right now.
I'm with you. Get Cam Schlittler.
This is my number one, and I have a number two. I'll save him for later. Number one, sleeper, is a guy that you really liked in the second half of last year.
Oh, tell me. I don't think I'm going to be able to
He is a southpaw who just made a second start of the year. He's replacing a player that suddenly was removed from the rotation.
Can I get ALNL?
AL. He's in your division of the Tigers.
Oh, my guy, Joey Cantillo. Heck yeah. Cosign 1,000,000%. I'm actually mad at myself for not giving that name to Sperry for the thumbnail, because he told me to give one of my picks. Yeah, no, talk about him. You brought him up. I love Cantillo.
I just knew I'd get this reaction.
Yes. Huge Cantillo fan. I'm glad you're talking about him.
Do you know what the number one, I think you do, the number one element that makes me excited about Joey Cantillo? It's part of the fan four.
I don't think I know.
Oh man. Joey Cantillo has at times 7.5 feet of extension.
Okay, that's what I was going to say, but honestly, I was just embarrassed to be wrong. So
you can be wrong.
100%. I know, but I was like, I think it's extension, but I don't want to say it.
So this is the thing about Cantillo. And as a lefty, like, but he throws like 90, 91. That's fine, because his changeup literally just got 11 whiffs against the Astros, who, yes, it was all right-handed lineup, so it does play into that.
Sure. But
he was commanding well. He had 37% CSW in that game, 15 overall whiffs. This is a very, very good changeup. And in general, Joey Cantillo does go the Blake Snell blueprint: four seamers up, changeups down. Yep. You have a good breaking ball there as well. I think also Cleveland's just going to roll with him the rest of the way here.
100%.
And Ortiz, I don't think that's going to be good for him. He's not going to come back, in my view. That's how I'm seeing this. I just don't think that Cleveland's going to have any sort of threat for Cantillo to be removed from this rotation moving forward. So I see a guy who's just all of a sudden, that's a Holly or so.
Love it.
Moving forward.
No, I again, fully co-sign. Obviously, the control is going to cause him some issues if it stays at 13% with the walk rate, but I think it can be more in the 8 to 10% range. Obviously, the lower, definitely, the better. But there's a lot of talent here, folks. He'll frustrate you a bit, Cantillo will, but the upside is worth it. 30% K rate, had 27 last year. This dude is a legit bat misser.
And we've seen lefties with good changeups like Noah Cameron have good runs.
Yes.
And it's a big thing. Maybe see Tyler Anderson have fantastic runs.
Multiple
times.
Yeah.
And like it's because of the changeup being so good. And paired with the extension on it that really helps him mask it. I really do think that it explains to me why Cantillo had that run last year.
That's what brought me in.
I don't want to overlook it.
He was a youngster with a changeup early, and I'm always a sucker for that when they've got it with other stuff, obviously. But he had it, and now he's getting to show it in Cleveland. What's that?
If they're a lefty, if they're righty changeup guy,
they don't get as much. Yeah, they don't get as much opportunity to flash it either if they're not facing a bunch of lefties. Exactly. So you're right. Lefties with changeups are the ones that you got to really
where your heart was there. who else is on your list here, Sporer? And I want you to really pick out your favorite one. I'm going to hear that. I have one more that I got to share. We're going to give our biggest bust of the second half. And we're going to tell you guys all that after this break. All right, Sporer, hit us with another sleeper. Do you have one here?
I do. He's already performing well, but it's only been a few starts. And I think a lot of people are nervous to get back in. It's another lefty. It's another lefty I love.
Okay, give me a hint here.
Trevor
Rogers.
Yeah. You didn't even need a hint. I'm such a sucker for this dude, man. And I liked the trade last year, mostly because I'm not the biggest Connor Norby fan. I like Stowers. So I thought it was a fair trade. I didn't even think Baltimore smoked him, but I definitely didn't think that Miami smoked him. And that's what people were saying.
Yeah.
So I like Rodgers. He got hurt. He was not their answer. They needed to do more. They should have always done more, regardless of what Rodgers was going to do. But I don't hold that against him. Healthy now, he looks a lot more like the rookie that we saw back in 2021. Now he's not perfect. The Ks are not all the way back, but the swing and miss is, and so is the control. So I think that 22% K rate has upward mobility here. He's keeping the ball in the park. I don't think a 4% homer to fly ball is going to stick around. So he's going to get the homers back up. But again, 1.0 and below, I can live with from Trevor Rogers. I know Baltimore isn't playing well, but I do still think he has a decent win opportunity with that team because it's a quality offense. I think Trevor Rogers is going to have a good second half. I put him somewhere around like a 3.70 ERA with a 118 to 122 type whip. And again, bunch Ks. I think he's just going to be really, really solid. I love Trevor Rogers, and I'm glad he's bouncing back. I hope it's real because a lot of people made fun of me last year for being in on him.
No. I remember last year when that trade happened on our show. We were like, what is going on? What?
Yeah. And I think that our biggest concern was that was their only answer. It's like, he alone can't do it. And he was pitching
it was also, the Orioles needed to do something like, we got Trevor Rogers. It's, Jason Marquis.
That's exactly the amazing reference. Anyone that doesn't get that, that's one of the best references that Nick really makes. And it's such a funny commercial. I don't even know how you would search it. Jason Marquis Mets commercial.
Just go to Jason Marquis Nationals commercial.
Or Nats commercial, yeah.
Oh my
God. Chose us. Oh my God. Amazing reference. But yeah, that was the biggest thing with Rodgers last year was that he was expected to be the savior and he was never going to fulfill that role.
No.
And then he got hurt and busted.
But the thing was, it was that he had more years of control and they were hoping that.
And that's why I liked it.
Get it. And what I am seeing from Rodgers is a guy who, so the command surprised me.
That's what's really
seamers up and sliders and changeups down. And when we saw off struggle from Rodgers, he didn't have all three working.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of frustrating to watch him pitch when it's just like, dude, you don't have both your secondaries there. It's like you can't do this. And when he had that flirtation with, I believe, a no-hitter against the Rangers, that was just cooking. He was also at 94 in that game. His last game was at 92, 93. And back in 21? When he had that breakout, it was like the Grom on the opposite side and stuff. That was a ridiculous time. And he was at 95 more often. Like he was really flirting with that a ton. So I'm a little cautious.
Is that going to be your key barometer then? Where the velo is with Rodgers? Is that going to be your key barometer as to whether or not you like him?
I would say it's part of it. But I think it's more about, do I buy that he's going to be able to locate consistently? Like, we've seen 2 games of it. I want to say yes. And I have him on my sleeper list here. This is I think what is going to influence his success in the second half. It's like, can you just show up with those 3 pitches? Even if he's at 92, 93, it should still be good. But 94 is where you start to get like, oh, dang, Trevor Rogers.
That's when he was a dude and we thought he was an emerging ace. So exactly. I do think it is more of the deeper league, like the 10 teamers. You don't got to go crazy unless he really pops off. But what I really was impressed with was he went 8 in the no-hit bid against Texas and then 6 2/3 in Atlanta. He did have the second start in a row against Texas that didn't go quite as well. But I just think he can be pretty good. And he's still available in a lot of shallower formats, understandably, because he hadn't been good very good recently.
So there are 2 guys on the same team, and actually Uncle Ted got one in the YouTube chats of in Boston.
Okay.
Who I think one of them is going to be someone that everyone wants to get, even though Fenway is their home park. Because what I think is that the Red Sox are going to sell in some way, maybe not.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation in Boston.
Very.
And I don't know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, right? But
they could buy to improve this team. I think they could make like in-season type trades too, where they move some guys and shuffle pieces, but they're still trying to keep 1 foot in type of thing.
Yeah. So we just saw one of them, which is Richard Fitz, who was a sleeper at the beginning of the year, showed up, was actually hurt, and didn't have the same velocity, didn't have the same excitement that we saw in a couple games in spring. But he showed up now for 2 games, and it's 97 on the fastball now, not 95. It's a good fastball. He has a wide array of options on top of it. And I do think that the Red Sox are going to turn to Fitz in the second half to get.
He got sent out just for the break, right? That's all. It was just
this is what happens all the time. He went back to the minors because they have 10 days. You can just come up as the 5th guy after.
Get the roster spot.
Exactly. So this is a common thing you'll see at this point.
Don't panic.
Break.
We've seen studs sent to like A-ball because it was the nearest affiliate and the All-Star break was coming. So don't freak out over this. I like Fitz. That's a good call out. Can I guess the other one? Is it because I don't think it's Bayo who just
it's definitely not Bayo.
Is it Hunter Dobbins?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
It is Kyle Harrison.
Oh, okay. Put us on there because he came over.
Kyle Harrison, and I was really excited about Kyle Harrison.
Me too. I like that part of the acquisition.
I was so out on Kyle Harrison for so long.
Same.
He's got nothing. He can't locate the fastball. The curveball is just whatever. The changeup or the not. Maybe it wasn't a changeup. It was like a cutter or something else. I don't remember. It was just too inconsistent. But then all of a sudden in the spring, what does he show? Oh, hey, I lowered my arm angle. Hey, I am now up 2-3 ticks. Hey, also it's a flat attack angle that's 99th percentile and 1.9 height adjusted VAA, which is Joe Ryan. And why Joe Ryan gets by at 94. And that was what Kyle Harrison was doing. And then the games that he started, he was actually hitting like Billy Oberizzi at the top of the zone with
great portmanteau there.
So then you also had
Bake Oberizzi.
Last game. It was so, oh my gosh, it drove me nuts. These are the things that like I only care about. And those
are my favorite things. The Nick obsessions that like you'll rant about on playback. I'm like, this is hilarious.
Sporer. I got one of those moments of it's like I feel like the stockbroker with like 10 screens and one of them starts flashing.
You're like, what's going on over here?
And essentially what the Giants did is they pulled the plug on that monitor because all of a sudden Kyle Harrison goes into Coors and has the greatest changeup he's ever had.
That was an insane
lefty
game.
with a changeup, and you are essentially doing the Blake Snell blueprint now with a legit fastball up and now a legit changeup that you can always hit in that lower quadrant down and away from right-handers. Oh my gosh, you this is it. You're going to break out now, and then they traded him. And that was it.
I didn't
get another start after that.
And I like that he's going to Boston. I think they're a team that I don't distrust San Francisco or anything. They got a great home park. They do pretty well with pitching. But I'm excited to see what Boston can get out of him. And they've even got me bought in a little bit on Hicks. I've never been a Hicks guy, but as a potential replacement of Aroldis, if they do trade him, I think he could be a save spec. Now, it could be ugly, but if you just need saves, I think Hicks is interesting. I like Harrison quite a bit more, though. That's a good call out. Yeah. Can I stay in the –
Go ahead. The cutter also might actually be introduced there. I think he's already been talking about that as well.
Exactly. And I think
that's a great addition for what he's doing. Don't try and do too much with a curve and a slider. Just like, hey, this is a simple cutter. I'm always a fan of that. You're the cutter. And how dare you bring up a reliever in Jordan Hicks? So sorry.
I know. I just because he was in the same trade. Okay. I know we have to get to the busts soon, but I want one more here. It's in the same division, and Ted mentioned it. And I kind of loosely hinted at him earlier when I brought up Drew Rasmussen, what's going on with him. The beneficiary of the Drew Rasmussen shenanigans is Joe Boyle.
Yeah.
Now, Joe Boyle's a guy that, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn there when he was coming up with the Rays. Now, or no, wait, he is with the Rays. This is when he was with the A's. Sorry, I know he bounced between those two.
It's okay. I was accepting it.
You're like, yeah, no, that's right. Sure. So now with the Rays, he looks a lot better. And if they're doing this Rasmussen thing where he's the opener for Boyle, then I think he can be a god in the second half and do the Ryan Yarbrough piling up wins. So I'm really intrigued by him. The stuff is just too nasty not to want to stash Joe Boyle everywhere.
Yeah, it's I'm not totally sold yet that he can keep his control in check.
I'm not either.
Cases of like that feels like a 50-50 P's, poor execution, awesome stuff guy. Who has improved his fastball. By
don't
the way.
Disagree with any of that.
A good one before, but I think he's worth the spec at least now, and hopefully that it does.
Yes.
stabilize there. And for one last one that is just an ultra sleeper, I'm just going to be like, whatever. I'm just going to get this sound bite in 3 months and haha, just for the fun of it. There's a guy in Atlanta because Atlanta is going to sell.
Greg
I mean, it
Maddux.
seems pretty obvious. And who'd you say?
Greg Maddux.
Yeah.
I was being dumb.
It sounded like you said the guy, which is DDA Fuentes.
Okay, so what happened? He got an option back out. He got killed. Tell me about him because I actually.
So it hasn't been good. Okay,
Right.
It was one inning of 800 runs yesterday on Monday. Okay, or Tuesday
Nick,
rather.
It was on one of my
DDA
teams. I know.
Has a very flat attack angle, four-seamer at 96 plus, and that right there is a ticket to success just innately. And then the question becomes, all right, what do you pair that with? What we saw was a sweeper, which is what we actually kind of see a lot from these flat attack angle guys, because that means you have a lower arm angle, which means you're already on the side of the ball, which means it's good to do that. Not those really high vert guys who then have to change your arm angle to go lower for the sweeper, right?
Right.
So that makes sense to me. And I think as a 20-year-old, there is a lot of room for growth that could happen very quickly. So if Atlanta, who was already aggressive to call him up in the first place,
that's the crazy part, right? They kind of had to, but
that
he even got called up. DDA
Fuentes believe that this can work,
right?
I wouldn't be shocked if we start seeing DDA get a lot of starts in August and September, and it just takes one game for that all of a sudden to work, and he goes, "Oh, okay,
this is how I do it."
And then all of a sudden he has like an 8 strikeout game in 5 innings. And goes, "Wait, hold on a second." Right. So just notice that.
Watch list at the very least with Didier Fuentes. I totally agree.
You're going to see the bottom line of like this guy's like a 10 ERA or something. I'm not going to touch this.
It's 14 right now.
Just throw that away. Just be like, okay, let's see how this is progressing. That's all I'm going to say there.
This is a good place where the ERA indicators help, though, too. His Sierra, while 494 is still not great, it puts into perspective that he is doing some things well, despite the 14 ERA. It's literally 1385. So Didier Fuentes, good name. I know we need to get to this bust.
All right, so busts. All right, I need to hear your biggest bust for the second half.
I got a big one. It's a guy. It worked last year. He's awesome. I don't think he stinks. So it's not like I'm cutting him, but I might want to try to trade Shota. I'm still not fully bought in here, especially because the Ks aren't there. Now, the underlying stuff is still there to get the Ks. I do think his 17% K rate will rise.
Yeah.
But the stuff is down a bit too. And he's a persistent home run guy. We saw if he hadn't laid such a great foundation last year, his ERA would have been in the mid threes, but he laid such a good foundation that the second half homers did not. No, it was awesome. And mid threes would still be good too. But I'm saying nobody noticed it because he had a 291. And he has a 280 this year, but he still has a 1.5 home run rate. I'm just nervous about Shota. Yeah. Again, you don't cut him anywhere, but trade leagues. I think maybe you trade him for something big so that you don't have to deal with the potential headache of those home runs, because I do think that he's going to pay a price, especially if the Ks don't go up. That 280 ERA right now is 2 runs clear of his ERA indicators.
Yeah. So with Shota, it was actually really frustrating yesterday. Only 1 strikeout. How am I supposed to butter my bread with this? Because his splitter was in the zone over 60% of the time. And I'm like, what are you doing? That's supposed to be like a 40% zone rate and getting all the fishing, but it did get out.
At least he was still good. Yeah, he was still good.
It still strikes. It's not, I don't know if you listened to the craft and you heard me talking about NC rate at all, non-competitive rate. It's a new thing that
I do listen to
have a massive article about soon. Yeah, essentially you just don't want a splitter to be a massive NC rate pitch.
Is it going to be 200 gifs of early career Yu Darvish, who used to get everybody to 0-2 and
remember
then
that one
3 pitches?
The overlay Darvish gift. We got a new one for you guys. It's just all the pitches overlaid going out of the zone super far.
I love Darvish, but he would get everyone 0-2 and then spike 3 breaking balls that nobody would even look at. Anyway, go ahead.
So that's essentially what you want for a splitter, is just a low NC rate. And that is still there with Shota. So I'm not as out as I think you are. I think the strikeouts will come back, but I do agree with you about, maybe home runs are still going to be a thing. He's not going to be he's not his destined AGA, right? I'm an AGA.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just a cash-in situation. Again, no world am I cutting or anything drastic with Shota, but go shop him, especially if you've got some good pitching, because you can still get a mint, even though he's only thrown 61 innings. It's a 280 ERA, 098 whip. He's got tons of believers. I think you can go get a monster bat or a bat and a pitcher if you need to fill more spots and cash in Shota, because I think he's going to have closer to a 4 ERA in the second half with good rates.
So here's the thing. So I'm doing this right now of just ranking by ERA by qualified pitchers. Just seeing, like, just getting a sense, seeing what's going on. And I think the first and easy one is Spencer Schwellenbach. You got to sell those guys.
I don't think you should hang on to him, guys.
All right. There's a very clear one to me that is, I mean, for example, like Adrian Hauser right now is like a sub 2 ERA, and it's like, okay.
I didn't even put him on, but yeah,
he's interesting. He has a good extension, 94, 95. But this is not going to be what it is. We all kind of know this. It's not really what we want to talk about here. So there's also Ranger Suarez going on an absurd run,
which he does once a year, guaranteed.
2 months, and exactly once there's a blip happening, the command will will flounder.
Yep.
So we've talked about this for so long. It really is. What is it? The 2020 or 2021 season when he had that 1.5 ERA and stuff.
Yeah, it's like 21, and he's done it like he's had a nice big chunk of the season of greatness every year since. But he always comes back to his level a bit,
right?
Too.
So there is that, but at the same time, he has deserved the success he's gotten, right? It's not all about the hotel.
I'm not a Ranger hater.
Creating luck. It's not about that. It's him actually executing it. The Vargas rule is all about these crafty guys having obscenely good command for a while, and then it just goes away. So I would say my number one sell is one that is not, honestly, is not too surprising. It's Spencer Strider.
Ooh,
and
this is
it's a pretty simple reason. Back in the day when he was Spencer Strider, it was a 97 mile per hour fastball with legitimate Fan 4+ metrics, flat and 17 plus inches of vert, maybe close to even 18, with 7 feet of extension. And what we're seeing right now is a 4-seamer that is at 96, which is fine. I'll take that. But it's at 14 to 15 inches of vert lately. And he needs
it to be perfect to run 2 pitches for Strider. That's the thing. When you're a 2-pitch guy, you have no wiggle.
Exactly. So the slider has actually been obscenely good. And I got to thank the real estate broker that is Grant Holmes for exposing some.
My favorite one of yours, by the way. I've been using it ever since. It's so funny, dude.
You just call him REB now.
That's so good.
I mean, maybe we should just call him Reba because it's real estate broker Atlanta. But honestly, I might just start doing that. Call him Reba.
I kind of like Reba.
I mean, come on. That was he was just talking about success for a long time, Reba.
And the way he looks like he listens to Reba McEntire, which is not a diss. I just think that he probably listens to Reba McEntire. Okay.
Yeah. So Grant Holmes, though, right after Spencer Strider had this ridiculously good game against Rocky Road, the Rockies in Atlanta, where he did it with all these sliders down away from Rockies. By the way, that's what Rocky Road is. If you have a breaking ball down away from the right-handers, then that's it.
You're going to absolutely cook them.
Grant Holmes done the same exact thing the next day. And it's like, well, hold on a second. You are not supposed to be on the same level as Spencer Strider. And it exposed exactly the problem. Was like, oh, right. This is just because the slider was good, not because the fastball was
not because of the fastball. Exactly.
So I'm worried about this from Strider. We're at a certain point that it's been, 2 months since he's returned. And we haven't really seen the 4-seamer just completely overwhelm yet. And I've seen more games where the 4-seamer goes like 2 out of 51 whiffs. I'm worried about this. I don't think he's going to necessarily get back to it. I think his name value is still very high. I think his performance so far has been good enough that people are still buying on it. And I have him right now around 30 in my rankings.
Right where I have him. Almost verbatim. So we are in lockstep.
I was kind of hoping it was higher because then it would be more of a sell. But it doesn't surprise me that we're
33
on the same page here.
33 on Strider.
So that's my biggest one.
I think that's a great call out because, again, the name value is there. Same with Shota. If you were to trade either of these guys, you're getting a mint back. People are going to want to trade for them, but it might just be better to sell right now. Here's something that might be a little bit sobering for folks. Since that big 2022 for Strider, and I know we don't get too hung up on just like raw ERAs, but his is 3.99. Like, he's just been kind of the skills are amazing. It's a 26% strikeout minus walk, which is the main thing that I'm always going to look at first and foremost. Spencer Strider is awesome, but he just isn't quite there. So I think I co-sign that. I think he's a worthy sell as a trade. Again, no cuts here or anywhere, but trade Spencer Strider, get your mint, and let somebody else deal with the potential headache.
So I'm going to ask you a quick question here. I'm just going to do some rapid fire.
Yes.
I lowered the innings threshold to 60 innings to see the ERA leaders. And I'm going to give you 3 lefties.
Okay.
Who I think everybody has expected worse seasons thus far. And I'm going to see where you are on them. And also, I understand that all 3 of these lefties are not being treated like a top 20, top 25 starter, really.
Andrew Abbott got to be on there, right?
Andrew Abbott is on there. Actually, I can't even say foreign. Bubic actually is being treated a little bit like a top 25. So let's start with Abbott, though. Where are you on him? He's at a 2.15 ERA thus far.
I was a little slow to adjust this year because I had him at arm's length coming into the year. He has done some things that I've liked. I still wish there was more like dominant swing and miss, especially being in that ballpark. So no, I don't fully believe in this. I do have him still ranked in my top 35 though. And I like that Cincinnati team a bit. So I think there's some decent support there to kind of keep the wins churning because that's been a big part of his game, 7-1 record. So I think he's more of a mid-3s ERA, but like a competent whip and win potential.
That's great. That's really
I'll take
good.
that all day.
And you're actually going to see commonality with this and also Ranger Suarez that all the lefties we're going to name have really good changeups. It's almost like that's the thing.
It's almost like it works that way.
Oh, Matthew man. So Andrew Abbott and then Chris Bubic. Where are you on him?
Very high on Chris Bubic.
Very high. Why is that?
I was part of the helium. I just really listen. I bought in at the initial run before he got hurt, right? There was like 2-3 starts. It was nothing, but people were like, ooh, he's better. The command and control was like nothing we've ever seen from Chris Bubic. Is this a different level? And then boom, he had a bad outing against Atlanta, and everyone said, no, he was a fraud. Turns out he was hurt, had TJ. Sneaky 30 innings out of the bullpen last year where the skills came back. Then spring, skills are still there. These skills have been there now to where he's living up on his prospect type. You know, I'm somebody who has a little bit of love for pedigree. You know, I think it matters at least to know, like, okay, this guy was a considered prospect for 5, 6, 7 years, and that is Bubic. So I think he's just kind of panning out on the expectations that we had from him as a command and control guy who's missing a lot more bats now, 14-15% swinging strike rates in all 3 of those samples, albeit small, but I just believe in him. Great defense in Kansas City, strong park. Yes, it does allow extra hits, but stifles homers. I just think Bubic is legit. And I think he's more of a low 3s ERA guy, true talent-wise.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that the 4-seamer, despite being at 92, he does have good extension on it. It is a generally good fan 4+, and he locates it really well upstairs. The changeup back in the day before Tommy John was always the most frustrating thing to me because he just wouldn't get it down. He would float it up an arm side all the time, and it would drive me up the wall.
And that's why he was a home run machine.
And it's a lot better now. And also, I will give him props for the slider and the sweeper for being more consistent with him, too. It is 4 pitches. And really, that 4-seamer has just been this churning machine for him of getting outs and being effective every single start. It's been reliable for him. So I am in on Bubic as well. Matthew Boyd. The Boyd boys are uniting.
My boy.
He is an all-star. Oh my gosh.
I love it, dude.
It's incredible, but he's also at a 2.52 ERA. And the biggest thing, I mean, it's the phrase you've said the entire episode, which is home runs. Because Matthew Boyd is someone who's always being a 1.4 home run per 9 guy. And it's all of a sudden underneath 1. It's actually the first time in his career in a season above 40 innings that he's had a sub-1 homer per 9. And there is something to be said about this. It is a dead ball season.
Yes.
So when it comes to home runs, which I mean, I think you'd agree, they are the noisiest of the main stats that we 100%. Talk about year to year.
Yep.
And it's also because they're just, it's a low ratio number. Thus, 4 of them will then just significantly change it one way or the other.
Yep.
And Boyd being in Wrigley, I was surprised to find that actually it helps homer suppression.
That must be weather patterns working in his favor then.
Versus in the past for Boyd. So we're actually seeing this depression of home runs. We're not seeing the old slider, but we're seeing an amazing changeup. I mean, it's a 2.52 ERA though for Matthew Boyd. It's really hot now. It might all of a sudden become an August of long balls for Boyd. Where are you here? Are you buying in 104 innings of a 2.52 ERA from Boyd?
I can't buy in. I can hold and see where this ship goes, but I don't think I want to go trade for him. And it's tough for me because it's a guy that I like. And when you have to split that fandom with the fantasy, like making the right move, I like him, I root for him, but I can't go out and trade for a guy that's 34, that's had the history that he's had and has the home run threat looming. Because I do think the 8% homer to fly ball is going to go up. I like him, but I think we get a 3.80 to 4.20 ERA in the second half, which is still good for the Cubs, but won't be as good for your fantasy team, especially in 10s and 12s.
All right. And then the last one's Noah Cameron. I mean, this is coming out of nowhere a bit,
It's a
and
bummer.
I gotta say, I'm really impressed with this command. It's not a good four seamer, but the cutter's really good, the curveball's really good, the changeup's really good. Where are you there?
Wait, you're not saying he was a bust, are you? You were just bringing this was your
No, I'm just
quartet
saying
of
this is
lefties.
an
Okay,
ERA that
sorry.
we don't expect. It's under a 3 ERA
When
right now. I
when I
mean,
said,
what are we
I thought
doing?
you were calling him a bust. No, what I've also been super impressed with Noah Cameron is that the schedule was relentless on him. It was so tough to even get him into the lineup because he's getting all these crazy matchups, but he kept handling them one after another after another. And if you look, he's done most of his good work against quality teams. I'm in here. 3.02 ERA and a 105 whip in 45 innings against 500 or better clubs. He had some juice coming into the season as a prospect on the rise. I'm buying in. I like what KC offers their pitchers with the home park and defense support.
So okay, so we gotta close this up. I'm realizing right now I have three. I have all of a sudden these random guys. I'm just gonna give you a quick list. Matthew Liberatore is a bust to me. I don't think there's really anything electric in there, and I think the 3.70 ERA is going to get worse in the second half.
I think you're right, even though I love him.
I know. Gavin Williams is so weird and crazy, but also at the same time, he's changed. He's throwing more cutters now, and all of a sudden his fastball is back. And like, I don't know what to do, but he should be better. I don't know. We'll see.
I haven't quit him all year.
And then there's Ryan Nelson, who oh boy, that fastball is finally good. It's finally just watch the Giants game from a week ago.
Was that sleeper or bust for Nelson?
That's a sleeper. Same with
okay, good.
Gavin Williams here. I'm
Okay,
just like
I'm in on both
out.
those.
I see. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to mention these guys right now.
Jeffrey Springs, went from one home park, a home park where he thrived to one where he can't thrive, and I worry about him. I know he's found a groove with the Athletics, but I'm nervous about him.
No, I'm not in on that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, I just don't want any Athletics pitchers because of their home park. But no, I love the Gavin Williams and who else?
Gavin Williams, Ryan Nelson.
Oh, Ryan Nelson. Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely.
Love both those.
How dare you? Unbelievable Sporer. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. Oh man, it flew by. It's just so good to see you again, man.
It's great to see you, man. I know that we haven't been doing the fireside regularly, but like I said, I think in the second half we can at least carve out once a month to get on here and chat, because I just love talking pitchers with you. I think we've got some fun names here. The deadline will kind of reassess too if some rotation spots change. We're doing fantasy analysis while we're doing that, so join us. We'll have plenty of information on when we're going to do our trade show, but I'm looking forward to that. I know you've got your annual trip coming up. I hope you have a great All-Star break. You're going to the Cape?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll be there until the week of the 21st of July. So
fantastic.
Gonna be no streams that week. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, full pod.
Maybe I got to get back to streaming so I can be your fill-in for the week.
Yeah. I'll bring back boxes and bull.
So
there
fun.
You go. But Paul Sporer, thank you so much for joining us on the craft for an honorable a fireside chat here. It's always nice hanging with you by the fire. Go check out everything that Paul does, of course, at Rotographs and OTP. But on behalf of Paul Sporer, my name is Nick Pollack, and we'll talk about the craft of pitching again next week.